So an Alaska Airlines pilot that was not flying a flight from from Washington down to San Francisco has been taken off, subdued, and kept from any more activities because he tried to kill a bunch of folks. He racked up 83 counts of attempted murder after he forced that flight to then be diverted to Portland. Let's look at ABC News and the details of what it is that actually happened. They'll tell the story good.
We understand that this was an off-duty pilot in the jump seat. That is a normal thing for an off-duty pilot to be sitting in the seat behind the pilots, deadheading as it's called, moving from one city to the other but not working. When our sources are telling us this off-duty pilot made some comment about "I'm not right," and then lunged and tried to pull the fire extinguisher buttons in the cockpit, which then would have killed the engines. There was some kind of pushing, it sounds like, but something went on in the cockpit. The flying pilots were able to take control of the situation, get the non-flying pilot out of that cockpit, and then they were able to make an emergency landing in Portland.
A bad situation that could have gone way worse was actually stopped by the pilots that were in the right state of mindset as this plane was in the air. Let's look at that off-duty pilot that was flying in that, I forget what kind of seat, but it wasn't a seat where he was operating. He was just flying to the next location. Joseph David Emerson there in an undated photo on his Facebook. And he's been charged with 83 counts of attempted murder, as I point out. He's also facing 83 counts of reckless endangerment, a misdemeanor, and 1 felony count of endangering an aircraft. And pause 1 second, because there's more from this report and this story gets way deeper. But they said there was fire extinguisher buttons that he was reaching for, which will shut down the engines of the entire damn plane. I'm no pilot, I'm no engineer, I'm no design. It seems like that is pretty simple to shut down all the engines of the plane, which would of course result in it then going down. There must be a good reason for it. It just seems crazy to me. And if you can get to it that quickly and easily and flip a switch and everything is done, which are then again pilot.
We lost Jayar, huh?
What's that?
You skipped on us. Oh, was it just me?
Oh no, maybe it was me.
Sorry, the screen froze. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, it did. I did get a message saying something's unstable. Maybe it was me. A little bit more. Let's go for more for ABC News talking about what is that happened on the back end.
That pilot, we understand, was about to land in San Francisco to fly a Boeing 737 last night when this went on, but this investigation very active right now.
Even scarier. So he was supposed to be going to San Francisco, get on another flight, and then be the pilot. So luckily he had whatever kind of mental health episode that he apparently went through when he said, "I'm not right," and reached for those controls there. And he maybe could have done it when he had more control over the plane itself. So first thoughts, because I actually want to applaud the rest of the crew because they got a way to subdue this guy and keep things from getting worse in actually a pretty calm way. But first thoughts, do you have any issues flying? And also, do you think about these things like I did?
I try not to focus on those things, and flying is generally safe. I just want to say I'm really grateful that nothing happened to everybody because this could have gone real sideways. And I'm glad they are charging him for attempted murder because that is really scary. I think we need to really consider who we're letting in to the cockpit, even if they are licensed pilots. Like, what is the reason for being there? I mean, it sounds like he was an active pilot on top of it. Also, maybe for sensitivity, we should change the name of that seat, deadheading. I mean, we don't want to forebode anything here. But I feel like, this is kind of a scary situation. You were talking about how there's just one button to, pilots know planes, and there needs to be a quick way to shut off an engine if it's on fire. You don't want the plane to explode, and it's a better chance of landing the aircraft if it hasn't exploded. So yeah, shutting off the engines is imperative. I don't know what all of the rules are. If there's any backups and safeties, that's what a pilot would know. This is sort of recalling that one lady who went crazy on the plane was like, that guy is not real. Like maybe he was having one of those moments. I'm not sure. Mental health is a serious thing. Perhaps we need to screen our pilots a little bit more. I know a lot of the pilots that I've known personally have been pretty level-headed people. They have a bit of a God complex, but at the same time, they are in charge of so many souls, when they're, flying an aircraft. So we have to put our faith in them. We have to put our faith into these companies that are hiring them and they're monitoring their mental health. I mean, it's kind of good that he went bonkers when he wasn't in charge of the plane and they caught it before he actually, got behind the wheel. I don't know.
Yeah, it's based in luck because we've seen some of these other instances of planes that went down and pilots were they're done and they've had enough or whatever it is that they're dealing with, and they take all the passengers with them. And luckily, if that had happened on his next flight, at least it got stopped. Then I always think about this when it comes to police officers, because we talk about police brutality and things like that, and we go, trust the police. He has this and that, and this isn't a police bashing aside. The point is, a police officer, a pilot, a dentist, a doctor, a surgeon, they're when they're not clocked in, they go home and they do what everyone else does. Watches reality TV, maybe drinks a bit, might smoke some. It depends on the occupation if it's allowed. Or they deal with family issues, kids, marriages, stress, work itself. And if they're just people who are in charge of other folks' lives and something happens to them personally, that affects everyone else. And it's really hard to be able to determine when those things are happening and how they might find themselves being exercised out of them. And it affects everyone else. Again, as you mentioned, Viviana, I don't have an answer as to if they can screen people differently, but this is a very trusting job that we give to folks. And maybe sometimes there needs to be a recap, regular psychological or counseling services available, something, because there's way too many lives in danger for this to happen. They charge him with attempted murder. Who knows how much he was thinking clearly about what it was he was doing, and now he's up on all these charges.
I think we should just keep the cockpit locked. Don't let anybody deadhead. Don't let anybody get in there. I know that used to be the standard, and Leonardo DiCaprio flew all over the place with TWA in that movie. No. Maybe we need to regulate it a little bit more. Can't Catch Me Now. Remember that one? Now, what was it called?
That was a
great
while
movie.
Ago.
Anyway,
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can. Yeah. So maybe we don't. We have to take our shoes off. We got to do all these things for security. Yeah. Maybe we don't let anybody in the cockpit. Maybe the cockpit is completely closed when people come in, because I've been getting on planes and the cockpit is wide open. Yeah. Maybe we just seal it all up before people get on the plane. I don't know.
They let my kid visit it when he was like 4. Like, I'll come in the cockpit and see. I was like, bro, don't touch anything.
You don't even go in there, okay? That's all
but there was a parallel here, because I thought about this. This is Alaska Horizon. It was a Horizon flight, which is sister company for Alaska Airlines. And they had an issue again with this pilot. But if you guys remember back from a few years ago, there was one, Richard Russell is the same airline. Remember this happened?
It was August 10th, 2018. Richard Russell, also known as Bebo, clocked into work at SeaTac Airport at 2:36 p.m. You see him here briefly showing his badge to TSA. He walks through the employee security checkpoint. He's wearing a black t-shirt that says the sky's no limit. He grabs his backpack and continues. After this moment, 5 hours go by, according to the FBI report. It's unclear what he was doing for this time. Around 7:15 p.m., he arrived with a tow vehicle at the cargo area at the far north end of SeaTac, known as Cargo 1. Air traffic control started to sense something was not right when trying to make contact.
The Dash 8 on runway 16 center, say your call sign.
That's Russell on the left side of your screen in the tow vehicle. He's got complete control over the aircraft. You can see him release the plane from the vehicle, and the plane starts rolling forward. He really only has a few seconds to start running towards the door of the plane. Watch him as he opens the cabin door and jumps in. He pulls the door back up very quickly.
It's straight out of an action movie where the villain jumps into the plane, takes off, and no one knows what happened. And I got to be honest, he revealed himself to air traffic control, talked to them as well. It's very casual and nonchalant. And even more so, this guy who was like, I don't know what his position was. He's out there, one of the technicians or whatever, flew the damn plane. Let's watch the rest of that. This is fascinating.
Seattle ground, Horizon guy, about to take off. It's going to be crazy.
More pilots started to chime in, and then it became clear something was definitely wrong.
Sorry, you need to call and scramble now.
Russell can be seen taking off in this new video. Several angles show the Horizon airplane leaving ground.
There's an emergency situation going on, and FAA Tower's not accepting any aircraft right now, not letting anybody depart.
While up in the air, Russell continued to radio in.
Hey, I found myself in a bit of a predicament. I'm in the air right now and just kind of soaring around.
At one point, he said he was going to check out Mount Rainier. Down below, all aircraft held from taking off.
Just kind of freezing everybody at the moment.
An hour and 13 minutes after taking off, Russell crashed the plane on a remote Pierce County island, ending one of the most serious domestic airline security breaches since 9/11. The FBI ruled his death a suicide.
And he was chatting with air traffic controller Viviana, talking about how, maybe he has a couple screws loose. He has a lot of people that care for him, and they're gonna be mad at me after I do this. And just casually flew the plane around, did some tricks that he thought he could do, and then.
But there was no passengers on that plane, right? That was just him.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
It's the same airline.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's coincidence or not, but I know that mental health is a real serious issue until this country starts treating it like a medical issue that it is, instead of overcharging everybody to get mental health care. We're going to continue to see people go through these mental health crises. A close friend of my family's, their son was just shot in Inglewood last month in the middle of a mental health crisis by, of course, Inglewood police. Couldn't manage it. They couldn't de-escalate it. They just had to murder him. And we're seeing a lot of loss of life associated with mental health crisis. This is one of them. Thank goodness this last situation where this guy who tried to turn off the engines was that attempt was foiled and nobody was hurt, because you just don't ever know. And honestly, just like all of us are on the precipice of we could be homeless, just like other people experiencing homelessness, we also are right on the precipice of having a mental health crisis. So until we take it seriously, we're going to have incidents like this that could really affect large sects of the population, not just one guy. In this case, his whole family, I'm sure, is still traumatized from this, and it must have been really horrific to watch.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it spreads to so many different areas. People end up on, drug use on the streets and on houses. You're pointing out mental health issues then led up to that. Lack of access to getting help for that. I'm sorry that the way that we clown and joke about people with mental health conditions. So it's always along those lines where there's not many answers, and you actually don't want to talk about it, especially if you're experiencing it, because where's the positivity going to come from? And then maybe sometimes it leads to these types of reactions. We're all just human, bro. And again, you mentioned earlier, the rat race of late stage capitalism is who cares what you feel, what's going on, how this affects other people. Where's my money?
Yeah, we have to step away from the individualism that this country has been saddled by and just look into collectivism, recognize that we are part of the masses and we have to treat the masses. We need to take mental health concerns as really valid. We need to give time off of work if somebody's having a mental health incident. And that isn't happening right now. And I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, frankly. It's expensive to treat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if we continue to ignore the community that we have to be, stuff like this will remind us, because it affects others, even if you don't want to admit it.